Hello and welcome back to ENG ENGINE. In this video, let us discuss how to frame questions using do verbs, how to frame WH questions and yes or no type of questions using the do verbs. You have a quiz at the end, so kindly watch the video carefully. We should always remember that do verbs are used only in simple present tense and in simple past tense. Here, in the do verbs, do in do verbs, do and does are used as present tense and did is used as past tense. Let us understand this better with a few examples. More than one WH questions can be formed for a few sentences. It depends on what response we expect. Now, the first example, Varun goes to Delhi to study. Varun goes to Delhi to study. Here the verb is goes. This is in simple present tense. So if the verb is in simple present tense, the do verbs are either do or does. Now Varun is singular. Since Varun is singular, we use does. And we frame a WH question using does. Now let us see what the answer is. Where does Varun go to study? We can frame the question to expect a few responses. Suppose if you want the response as Delhi, then we ask where, because where denotes the place. If you want the response as why, that is to study this reason, then you can ask the question in a different way, like why does Varun go to Delhi? Now when we use these do verbs, we use does here and go should be in the actual form of the verb. We shouldn't use es since Varun is singular. This singular and plural form is denoted by the do verb. So we need not change the form of the main verb. Why does Varun go to Delhi? Next sentence. They go to Delhi to study. Here, they is plural and so we have used go. Now, go is the verb. The plural do verb is do for present tense. Now, how to frame the WH question using the do verb. Where do they go to study? So, here our response that we expect is this place. So, we have used where do they go to study. Suppose our expectation is why, then the question will be why do they go to Delhi? They go to Delhi to study. Now, using the same statements, let us see if we can frame the yes or no type of question. For the first statement, Varun goes to Delhi to study. Here, goes is the main verb. If there is only main verb and there is no auxiliary verb, it is understood that we have to use only the do verbs to frame a question. So we use either do or does in the present tense. Since Varun is singular, we use does. Does Varun go to Delhi to study? Yes, Varun goes to Delhi to study. So that is the response. In the second sentence, they go to Delhi to study. Here, they is there and go is the plural verb. And the plural do verb is do. So the response, that is the answer is, do they go to Delhi to study? Yes, they go to Delhi to study. So this is how we can frame the WH question as well as the yes or no type of question. Let us see a few more examples. They went to Delhi to study. This is in past tense. In the previous slide, we saw two examples, one in the present tense singular form, the other one in the present tense plural form. If you want, you can rewind the video and check. So this is the past tense. They went to Delhi to study. This is past tense. So the do verb for the past tense is did for both singular as well as plural. So the WH question using the do verb in the past tense. If you want the response for Delhi, you have a question, and if you want the response to study, there is another type of question. So let us check that. Where did they go to study? So where did they go to study? They went to Delhi to study. So the response is the place. The response is given as the place. Now, if you want the response to study, the question is, why did they go to Delhi? They went to Delhi to study. Now you get this response. So depending upon the response, we can frame the question. Now, let us see how to frame the yes or no type of question for this statement. So the verb is went and it is in past tense, and the do verb for the past tense is did. So using did, we frame the WH question, and it is, did they go to Delhi to study? You should use the question mark. Yes, they went to Delhi to study. So this is how it is framed in the simple past tense. Let us see the next example. I go to my office by bus. I go to my office by bus. So this one, by what means, it is asked. It answers to the question by what means, and this one, it refers to a place. So we can ask a couple of questions here too. Let us see. How do you go to your office? So I go to my office by bus. Or where do you go by bus? I go to my office by bus. Now, if it is the yes or no type of question and the main verb is go, it is present tense and I is used, so we use the do verb do. Do you go to your office by bus? Yes, I go to my office by bus. So that is the response. The next example, they visited their granny last week. So if we want the response for last week, we have a question. And if you want the response for their granny, there is a question. And there is also a question with the yes or no type. Now let us check one by one. When did they visit their granny? They visited their granny last week. So you have the answer as last week. So when answers to the question, that is, it gives the response for time. The next one, whom did they visit last week? They visited their granny. So this is the person. Whom gives the response for the person. Now next, let us check the yes or no type. So visited is the past tense, is simple past tense. The do verb for the simple past tense is did. So did they visit their granny last week? Yes, they visited their granny last week. The next example, she teaches children maths. Here teaches, this is simple present tense and she is singular. We get response for two type of questions, for children and for maths. Let us see. What does she teach children? She teaches children maths. So you get the answer here. We get the information. Next, whom does she teach maths? She teaches children maths. So it responds to the person. Next, how to frame the yes or no type of question. So it is teaches. This is the main verb. So we have to use the do verb, and the noun, that is the subject, is singular. So the do verb that we should use to frame the question is does. Does she teach maths to children? Yes, she teaches maths to children. Now you can note that if did is used, in all the forms of questions we use only did. And if does is used, in all the forms of question we use only does. And if do is used, we use only do for all the types of questions. So we have to remember this well. The present do verbs are do, does. Does for singular and do for plural. The past do verb is did. It is used for both singular as well as plural. I hope you're clear with the concept. Now it's time for the quiz. A statement is given. you can try to frame as many as questions as possible. It may be the WH question using do or the yes or no type of question. Let's start. Frame suitable question for the given statements. She bought the latest mobile phone today. If you want more time, you can pause the video. You have yet another 2 questions in the next slide. Now there are answers. You can check. Now let us check the next statements. She writes interesting stories. They play cricket with neighbors. You may pause the video if you need more time. The questions will appear in a few seconds. Kindly check the answers. Well, that's it. And to sum up, we learned how to frame WH questions and yes or no type of questions using do verbs. Hope you're clear with the concept. If you find this video useful, give a thumbs up and share. Also subscribe and hit on the bell icon. Thanks for watching.